All right, welcome to the Road Cheetah Project. We have a lot to talk about, so we're going to just jump right into it. But first of all, a few things. Batman 29 also came out today. We're not talking about Batman 29 on this particular side of the project. We're going to push that up to a episode on the Push For It Tuesday on the podcast. So Batman 29, we're going to talk about that. We're pushing that up to the podcast side. But I got some positive things to say about Batman 29, so I'm gonna push that up. And something else that's really making my ass itch. I just saw this commercial, this Gatorade commercial with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, I don't want to see you, man, in that context. Sit down, bro. Like, fuck out of here. Like, I was making some cold brew coffee, and that commercial popped on the commercial, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? What is this shit? Gatorade? Like, come on, man. Y'all so. I guess y'all are thirsty, but. I mean, thirsty in every way, because, physically and figuratively, because, man, fuck out of here, Matt Ryan. It was to defeat is my fuel. Some shit, fuck out of here. Anyways, that's my little rant on that. Anyways, let's get into the Lion Forge. Shout out to Lion Forge and their ACCELL run. That's the first thing we're going to mess with today. This is fairly interesting. Now, the story, I feel like I might have seen the story a few times before, but the art is what unique and was different here. And I've always wanted, way back when I said I was going to start bringing things that weren't DC, weren't Marvel into this. And so Lion Forge gave me that outlet with ACCELL, and here we are, ACCELL number 3. And it's pretty interesting. ACCELL number 3, the art starts off a little wonky, and I got kind of scared, but I know why they did it. But then the art comes back, and then when the art does come back around like the 4th, if you count one page at a time, around the 3rd page, between the 3rd and the 4th page, the art comes back and it's really, really vivid and it's really, really good. And this is really unique, and I'm really appreciative of it. Like whoever this artist is, let's give them a credit right now. They're a beast. Let's see. Pencil by Damian Scott. Ink by Robert Campanella with Mosh Studios. So that's pretty legit. So I would definitely pick ACCELL 3 number up and make that work for you. All right, well, I'm working right now. Let's see. And so that's ACCELL number 3. So, and I would definitely make that a thing. Okay. Moving on. SUPERSONS number 7. SUPERSONS is SUPERSONS speaks for itself. SUPERSONS has been, again, pivotal in this project, and I really give SUPERSONS a lot of credit. I'm really, I know why, like, the rest of the Teen Titans are teens, but Starfire is like a grown-ass woman, but that's something totally different. But anyway, SUPERSONS number 7 doesn't disappoint. It's a ending of a story arc, and usually the ending of a story arc is kind of just like fall flat. I mean, not fall flat, but just kind of like anticlimactic. And this one doesn't really escape that history so much, but the art is really good nonetheless. Shout out to Jimenez again. And And they wrap up the end of the story pretty good. The fight scenes are really good. The art is just really what sells this book. And Super Sons, can't wait to see what happens on the next story arc. Super Sons isn't going anywhere. Super Sons is already credited as Hall of Fame on this project. I mean, no doubt. So so Teen Titans, Super Sons re-edition of the Teen Titans is pretty good as well. And I'm all in this Super Sons. So Super Sons number 7, cover art, 9 out of 10. In book art, 9 out of 10. Story, 8 out of 10. That's how Super Sons been getting down on this project. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get the ratings for ACCELL. Got distracted there. So art, 9 out of 10. Story, 7 out of 10. Cover, 7 out of 10. So that's what happens. That's how ACCELL panned out for me. All right. X-Men Blue. X-Men Blue was also walked into the Hall of Fame on this project, and I'm really appreciative of what I'm getting from X-Men Blue. Again, I think this is another story arc that is kind of, or a portion of the story that's kind of closed itself. I'm still. X-Men Blue is really, it still does well what it's been doing well. And that's the fight scenes and very vivid and colorful art, and then also a decent story to go along with it. I mean, this story it satisfies the palate. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but the art and the fight scenes and the variation in colors just make up for everything else. So, X-Men Blue number 9, cover 8 out of 10, in book art. I'll probably say that's 8 out of 10 too, but again, I'll give this book another rating. Fight scenes. The fight scenes are 10 out of 10. And the colors are 9 out of 10. So, I gave it a little extra bit of raise. But, if we take those out still, let's say 8 out of 10 on the in-book art, 8 out of 10 on the cover, 7 out of 10 on the 8 out of 10 on the story. That's X-Men Blue. X-Men Blue is doing this thing. So, Marvel's been impressive so far. Let's see. With that stuff. This is from last week, because we didn't do a comic book review last week, if I'm not mistaken. So we're looking at Jean Grey and the Phoenix Generations. Let's see. Sorry, skipping around here. So I'm not exactly sure where that image is. Here it is. Jean Grey and the Phoenix Generations. This is interesting. This is not really mind-blowing, and it's not really saying anything that we haven't already known for real. At least I don't think so. Maybe so, but you dealing with the Omega part of the Marvel Universe in this, and that's the thing, man. A lot of things that I'm reading now are stretching out, and we're gonna get into this when we get to the very end of this episode. Are stretching out to the boundaries of imagination, or the boundaries of the universes, either respectively DC and Marvel, and it's kind of, I don't know how I feel about that, man. I like the normal missions, like not necessarily what's normal in the mutant world, right? But still, I don't like spanning out to the edges of the power meters and the edges of the universe. Really don't really, it just seems hollow to me. Anyways, the art on this book is serviceable, to say the least. It's really smooth, and it's really dynamic, and it contrasts pretty well. It's just not as sharp and as hard as I like my art, but it's still there. You get a throwback to the old Jean Grey, which is what I'm in it for, because I love the Phoenix and I love Jean Grey, and she has a pretty big boss battle in this, and that's interesting as well. And hopefully we'll see how this Generations ties into the rest of what Jean Grey's got going on in the main run. I really like this cover. I'll give this cover a 9 out of 10. I don't know. It's something about that cover I really like. The in-book art, though, 7 out of 10 8 out of 10 at best. I want to say 7. And then the story, I'll give the story 8 out of 10 though. So Jean Grey Phoenix Generations, not bad. It's not the worst thing I've read, that's for sure. Astonishing X-Men number 2. Astonishing X-Men is very, very interesting. Let's see. and we getting a lot of X-Men stuff. But on Astonishing X-Men, I got the Stegman variant because or Stegman, yes, Stegman. It's the Sandoval does the Venom. So yeah, Stegman. I got the Stegman variant, which is this variant. I just love Stegman's art, and Psylocke's like one of my favorite X-Men. Definitely one of my favorite female characters. So I had to cop this, and Stegman just the beast on the pin to me. So, but anyways, it wasn't a cheap day at the comic book shop. I'll tell you that. But anyways, this story. This story is interesting. It's interesting. It's very interesting, but not even just that. The art that plays out in this book. We talked about Astonishing X-Men #1 on the podcast side. I think it was maybe this past Tuesday. I record a lot of shit, so I forget. But I think it was this past Tuesday. We talked about Astonishing X-Men, or maybe not. Maybe it was the Tuesday before. I think we talked about X-Men Blue. Yeah, we talked about X-Men Blue last Tuesday. It was the X-Men. Astonishing X-Men was the Tuesday before. Anyways. The art on this is really shadowy and dynamic and different, and that's what really sells this book for me. And it's just a very intriguing, interesting ride that they're trying to. This is interesting mold that they're setting up with all this, especially with the movie style art and everything else is happening. This is really, really interesting. So. The variant cover, I gotta give this cover a 10 out of 10, but the regular cover is pretty interesting too, and there's this one, and there's another variant cover where all like the X-Men kind of blend together in like their one body, and that was interesting. I was thinking about getting that one, but I had to pick one. So, Astonishing X-Men #2. I don't know if I can give a cover rating because it's a variant. So, but the in-book art. The in-book art is a 9 out of 10. The story is an 8 out of 10. So take that for what you want. That's for sure. The story actually might be a 9 out of 10 if you really sit down and look at what the stakes and everything that's happening here. So it's at least an 8 out of 10. It could be a 9 out of 10, but definitely the art is a 9 out of 10 for sure. So X-Men, Astonishing X-Men, you're not losing anything on Astonishing X-Men if you pick up the #1 and #2 back issues before too long. Okay. Venom 153. That's from last week, if I'm not mistaken. So let's see. Venom. Sandoval is just crushing it. I just love his art. It's comparable to Stegman's, but it's still his own, obviously, and it's just beast to me. You know, like I just love his edges and I love his lines. And I like the angles he's taking, and also the coloring is really good too. So who's that? Let's see. Dono Sanchez Almaria is the color artist. So it's just a lot of good things happening in this. Now again, it's a story about dinosaurs, right? So I don't know exactly, how that's going to be, receptive for people who are really into comic books as far as its validity or depth is concerned. But still. This is pretty entertaining. What'd you say? Littlefoot. Littlefoot?
Yeah.
Who's Littlefoot?
It's a movie.
Oh yeah? About what? Dinosaurs?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was Land Before Time.
Oh, Littlefoot. Oh. Yeah, is it Venom in that too?
Yeah.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's a cool dinosaur.
Oh yeah. Venom. This is also another concluding story, so I think this is probably the best concluding as far as wrapping everything up and pushing us forward to the next thing. So I'll give them credit for that as far as writing is concerned. But this is at least artistically wise, it's pretty entertaining. This is pretty entertaining. I was hoping for a Spider-Man feature in this one, but we'll see. Hopefully they'll come back. And we'll just see how Eddie Brock pushes forward from here. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do next, so I guess that's a good and a bad thing. So, cover art on this jump off. This is the cover. I'll give the cover a The Land Before Crime. The Land Before Crime concludes. I'll give the cover a 8 out of 10. In-book art 9 out of 10. Story. Just from how they wrapped everything up and made it smooth. 9 out of 10, honestly. I mean, it was concluding story. I don't think concluding stories. I think concluding stories aren't very easy to do because a lot of them kind of just like blah. You know, the beginning of a story arc, the middle of a story arc, but then the concluding, unless you're Scott Snyder or somebody like that, it's really hard to wrap everything up in an effective kind of way, in my opinion. Anyways, moving on. Jean Grey, number 5, featuring again Psylocke. So um, that's pretty much the only good thing I have to say about Jean Grey number 5. I think this was also last week, but I don't know, man. Psylocke's a beast. I'm always on a little Psylocke, but this this Jean Grey thing, her being so different from the Jean Grey of past, it's just so up and down as far as where the story's heading that I just really can't show this comic book a whole bunch of love. Not even just that. I'm not so in love with the art either. I mean, but Jean Grey's learning, and the last 2 issues are really good. So, I'm gonna stick with this and see how this all plays out. But cover art, I give a 9 out of 10. I mean, how can you hate on that? Especially if you've seen the whole shebang there. I mean, but in book art, 7 out of 10 at best. Story, 7 out of 10 at best. I don't know what's happening with Jean Grey. But, the last 2 issues of Jean Grey really took me by surprise, so I guess, they had to step back a little bit. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Alright. Now what I really want to talk about, and the elephant in the room, and it's a metal elephant. And that's DC's Dark Days Metal number 1. Man, I'm really not sure how to feel about this. There was a lot of hype walking into this, and we had a lot of good things to say about Dark Days, The Forge, and Scott. Let me say this. Scott Snyder is completely responsible for my whole comic book existence at this moment, as far as like my interest in comic books. And I walked back into comic books probably like 3 years ago at the very right time when he and Greg Capullo were starting Batman 52. And it's beautiful to have them working together on this because it's kind of just like a full circle kind of deal. Me starting this project and then them magically come back together to do something, the same character pretty much. How can I hate on that, right? But I gotta be objective, and I also want to be respectful. I don't know if this is going to hold the same weight as the Batman 52. I don't know if it should be expected to. But what I will say is, let me just open this book up a little bit. What I will say is, I probably have to be patient, because if I know anything about Scott, that he is going to wrap everything together, and he is going to make all this make sense at some point. Right now, to me, and maybe it's my dyslexia kicking in, I don't know, but I don't feel the love from the story right now, and I gave it past in Dark Days, The Forge, but I don't know what's happening. I'm kind of confused, and maybe that's by design, and that's cool, but I was expecting a little bit more story-wise than what we got here. But Greg doesn't hold back. This is probably some of Greg's more aggressive art. Like, and who's doing the inks on this? Whoever's doing the ink is really impressive too. Let's see. FCO Palcencia. Placia. I don't know. That's spelled Plascencia. But I was just expecting a little bit more of a dynamic walk-in. That's all. I mean, there's a lot happening here, obviously, but there's a lot happening that I feel like that I'm left out of the loop of, so I can't really get into, the juice of it. I don't feel that juice. Because I feel like I'm ignorant of a few things, and I don't like that feeling when I'm reading comic books. You know, I want to be in the context. I want to be in the thought pattern of the characters, and I don't feel like I'm there. Um, and that's the thing, man. Like I said earlier, I feel like a lot of the things I'm reading, or the trend, is to spread things out into these far reaches. You know, gone are the days, as it would seem, you know, Batman just being local in Gotham and doing that beat, you know, running that bit. Now, you know, he's international, not even international, he's otherworldly. He's multi-universe, and the whole multi-universe thing is kind of chapping my ass because it just seems really trendy and really newfangled, and you know, and it just seems like in this particular book, there's not even just one multiverse, there's two multiverses. So there's two infinities. And so now it's like, okay, what is this? When are we gonna rein everything back in? Like, when are we coming back home? Like, when is Bruce back in Gotham and doing like normal Batman stuff, if there's such a thing? You know, and that's what I kind of hinted to earlier. You know, when are X-Men back in their city just doing normal X-Men stuff? You know, when is all this time travel and multi-universe hopping stuff going to be, you know, kind of chill for a little bit? I mean, I know that's a part of comic books, and now that's starting to bleed over into, you know, other entertainment values, but I mean mediums, but I don't know. I'm just an old head, I guess, and I would just like to see it I would just like to get a hold of a story where Batman's kind of in his own, you know, dealing with Gotham stuff, you know, that's this worldly stuff, and not blasting off into, you know, the multiverse. Now that's what Batman 29 is for, I suppose. So we're talking about Batman 29 on the podcast side, but I mean, I'm not sitting here to hate Scott Snyder's the man, and I know he's gonna pull this together. So I just need to be patient. And I have nothing to say about the art. The art, I mean, Greg Capullo is one of my favorites. His art is it just speaks for itself, and it has its own life. But it's just this story, even from the Forge, that really kind of really kind of making my ass itch, and I'm not exactly sure what that's about. But so that being the case, there's a few different covers with this. I have the Greg Capullo cover, and I have the Wonder Woman Jim Lee cover. The other ones I had to put away because I didn't want the expensive comic book shop day to be even more expensive than what it was. But I have to say, out of all the covers, man, I like the Jim Lee one. I'm not the Jim Lee one, the Greg Capullo one the best, honestly. I checked out all of them today, and I think the Jim Lee one is not his best work. Even though the Wonder Woman one is lit, but I like Greg Capullo is the best, honestly. And so that being the case, 10 out of 10 for his cover. 10 out of 10 for his cover. And the art, the in-book art, man, anywhere from a 9 to a 10. And I need to give you a solid number here, so give me a second. I say 9. I say 9 only because I feel like as the story gets more lit, and as things start to become more digestible, his art's only going to get better. It's only going to enhance the art. So right now I'm gonna say a 9 because it's in direct correlation with the story, and even more so than usual. And that being the case, I give the story just off GP and cred. I give the story 8 out of 10. If it was anybody else, I might give it a little lower, but but just who it is, 8 out of 10, and I just had to be impatient. So I mean, I had to be patient. Sorry, impatience is one of my greatest weaknesses, and I guess I just wanted them to come in and kick my ass, and for me to come in and say, "Oh man, this is the 10 out of 10. This is the greatest thing ever." But I'm not feeling that right now. I'm just not. But maybe that's because that's coming down the line. This is a 6-part issue, and then there's a whole bunch of other things that's wrapping around it. So we'll just have to see how this develops from here on out. But I'm not feeling the hype right now. I'm just not. At least story wise, art wise, I can't hate on it. Art wise, this is what got me back into the shit. But story wise, I don't know if we can say it's going to be Batman 52 or better. I don't know. Maybe that's not fair to say that because this is a whole different track. They're not the same people they were back then. The artists and the story, so and the writer. So who's to say? Anyways, I'll get off my comic book soapbox, and we'll just see what happens with this here, honestly, and we'll just see what happens with everything else. With the project, with life moving forward, everything. We're in the middle of Goku right now, so check that out. Also, check what I got out on Vimeo. All the links are on the site, on the channel, on the upper right corner. Also, Google Plus, hit me up on Google Plus, Twitter as well, and the podcast Friday and Tuesdays, and here on Wednesdays and Monday for more Goku. And I'm trying to rotate more stuff in as well. So I'm working on that as well. So yeah, we're getting to it. Just trying to make this nerd life a thing and really level up my shit so it can be more engaging and entertaining for you out there listening. And that being the case, shout out to everybody who's been supporting, who's been liking, who's been commenting. Shout out to everybody who is on the podcast team as well, listening and giving this life, because I'm just some guy, but shout out to everybody who is digesting this thing, and maybe you can come back after a while and have some conversations about things that I've said and about certain books and about certain topics and Goku, Vegeta, whatever. Let's just come here and have fun and shoot the shit. Anyways, what you have to say, Damien?
Huh?
What you got to say? We better get out of here. What you got to say?
I'm going to say.
I can't hear you.
I'm going to say. Superheroes are pretty great, but Green Lantern is so good.
What do you know about Green Lantern? Tell me what you know about Green Lantern.
I know he's have a ring and tough women's and.
Tough women's?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It got a wing and it pops out and it's green and the toughest.
What about Gumball? He not a superhero?
No, he says sing.
What about we are Bears? They're not superheroes?
No, only the Teen Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beast Boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Beast Boy's funny, yo.
Yeah. Beast Boy is funny.
Anyways, we're going to get out of here. We'll see you next time. I got to jump on this Drozer before too long. Been procrastinating today, so I'll try to get that done. We'll get that done, actually. And then we'll just see you next time. Level up. We'll see what happens pushing forward with all this stuff. And we'll just see what happens next. This is a crazy world, and anything can happen at any point, especially, seeing Matt Ryan. I thought Matt Ryan might be somewhere still taking a nap, or somewhere on the Himalayan mountains meditating on why he how he allowed that shit to happen. I don't want to see him on no Gatorade commercial trying to sell me stuff, bro. Like, fuck out of here. But anyways, we'll see you next time. There's no telling what's going to happen next. So let's just pray up, level up every way we can, and then we'll see if we can make it back here for more life another day. So we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching the project.
Yeah. Let's get back to music.